is that so loud?
Oh, the movie I had yesterday, that's right. All right, so tomorrow, what's happening tomorrow? Practice EOC. That'll work all right. Let's see, practice EOC. So what is the EOC again? That is your test that, when are you taking the real EOC? 3 weeks, right? Really about a little over 2 weeks now, because I think when we go, when you know, Easter weekend, we get Friday off, right? We get Good Friday off. And then Easter Monday, the Monday after Easter, you'll be taking the English EOC. And then that Tuesday, I think you take the more of the English EOC. And it's either that Wednesday or Thursday, you start taking the Algebra EOC. And then I think the Algebra one is a 2-day test, kind of like the English. So I think you take like half of it one day and then half of it the next day. It might even be 3 days, but I think it's only 2 days. But that's the way it's going to work. This practice EOC that you're going to take tomorrow. So make sure you bring your Chromebook tomorrow. Make sure it's charged up because it's on the computer. Again, this is not a test that I wrote. It's a test that was written by the state of Tennessee. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the kinds of problems tomorrow. Now, something I want to warn you about. When you take the real EOC, you're not going to be pressed for time. You're going to have plenty of time. It won't be a problem at all. Tomorrow, we're taking the practice EOC. It's going to have like 45 or 50 questions on it. It's going to be what you should have done in 2 days, but we're only going to spend 1 day doing it. Okay. And that's because I don't think it would help us to spend 2 days taking the practice EOC. I think you'll get just as much out of the practice one if we just do it 1 day. So here's what I want you to think about tomorrow when we're doing the practice EOC. First of all, I do want you to get as many problems as you possibly can right. And I will make it worth your while to get them as many right as you can. Okay, so you want to do as best as you can on this practice EOC. But there are some strategies that you can use on some of these problems to get the answers in a quick way. And that's what we're going to talk about now. So tomorrow, most of you are going to be stressed out when you're taking this practice EOC because you're going to see that the class is half over and you're going to be like, I'm not even halfway done with this test and the class is half over, and you're going to start to panic because you people are used to doing well on tests. And so the idea of not finishing a test is going to make your heart rate go up. Don't let that happen. Most of you probably won't finish this test tomorrow. It's okay. All right. Just try to do your best. I will make it worth your while if you try the best you can, but it's not like a big test grade or anything like that. All right. So just do your best. But there are some strategies that will help you. Some of you will finish the test even in one class period, because if you implement some of the strategies we're going to talk about, it'll make it so you can get some of these problems done more quickly. So let's take a look at these. What I want you to do is have a piece of paper out, have a calculator. By the way, the first part of the end of course test is going to say that you may not use a calculator for this part. So when you actually take the real first part of the Algebra 1 test, you won't get to use a calculator at all. Now tomorrow when we do the practice, I don't care if you have a calculator in front of you, because honestly, if you use the calculator on the no calculator part, it will only slow you down. You can get all the problems right without the calculator. That's the whole point of them having it be on the no calculator part. For instance, this one, it says the graph of f of x is shown. Which statement is true? Which statement about f of x is true? Why wouldn't the graphic calculator help you on this one?
Because knowing about the zeros is going to take longer to graph.
Did they already graph it for you?
Yep.
Yeah, why would you want to graph it on the graphic calculator if they've already graphed it for you? And all they want is the zeros, right? Now, do you know what zero means?
The x-intercept.
The x-intercept. So can you do this one quickly? Yeah, what's the answer?
It must be C or D immediately because those two.
What's the answer?
And we know it can't be -6, so it must be C.
It's C. The answer is C, because the zeros are where it crosses the x-axis. It crosses at 1 and -1. It's that quick. Now, if the test tomorrow is 50 questions and you get 50 minutes, that means how long do you
1
get for
minute
each?
per question.
1 minute per question. Did you just solve this one in way less than a minute?
Yes.
You did. And therefore you just gained yourself like an extra 45 seconds on maybe one that you do have to take a little bit more time on. And that's what I want to talk to you about today, is that how can I do these problems in the most efficient way so that I do have more time, because some of the problems are going to be tougher. This isn't one of them. This should be a quick and easy one. Okay. Number 4, we're not going to do all of them. I'm just going to pick and choose a couple problems. Number 4, what are the zeros? Is it the same problem? It really is, but this time they didn't give you the graph. Now, could you tomorrow, because it's the practice test and you're going to have a calculator in front of you, could you type this into the calculator and figure out where it crosses the x-axis? You could, but it's going to take forever. Not forever, but it's going to take you like a whole minute, when this should only take you a few seconds. Because when you're finding a zero, you're just going to plug in these numbers and try to get what? Zero. So let's try it. 3. What's 3 squared?
9.
What's 7 times 3?
21.
What's 9 minus 21 minus 30?
Not 0.
It's not 0. Yeah, I don't even care what it is. All I care is if it's 0 or not, but there's no way that's 0. Do I even need to try the -10?
You should plug in 15 now.
Yeah, 3 didn't work. So -10, even if it works, A is not the answer. So go to the next one. Try 10. What's 10 squared? Just be quiet for just a minute, Henry. All right. What's 10 squared? 100. What's 7 times 10? 70. What's 100 minus 70 minus 30?
0.
Are we on to something?
Yes.
We are. So now we should try the -3. What's -3 squared?
9. Positive.
What's -7 times -3?
21. Positive.
What's 9 plus 21? What's 30 minus 30? Is B the answer? Yes, it is. Do I even need to try C or D? No, you just figured out that B was the answer. So you can see that that's another example of something you can do quickly and easily in your head, quicker than you could even if you did it on the calculator. Okay. Look at this one. Now, B is an example of the kind of problem that you might, when you first look at it, think to yourself, by the way, have any of you ever taken a test? And again, on the real test, you're not going to be stressed out for time. But tomorrow, you are kind of a little bit. Now, it's not counting as a real test, but might number 6 or number 5 be a question that you're like, you know what, I'm going to skip that one because it looks like there's a lot of reading. I'm just going to wait till the end.
Oh, you just look at the question, you can get it.
All right. Now, Tanika bought a banquet
You don't
hall.
have to read that.
Henry, please don't talk right now, okay? I want everybody to be able to do this, all right? So please just relax, okay? All right, now when you're doing this, a lot of times you can just look at what they're asking for. Look at the last sentence in the question. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes you can figure out what they're asking for without reading the whole story problem. Which operation describes Tanika's missing work? Do I even care about any of the story problem? No, we don't. So what did they do to this in step 1 to get this? What's missing?
Subtract 60.
The 60 is missing. How do you get rid of a plus 60? You subtracted 60 from both sides. So even though this is a great big story problem with lots of words, were you able to quickly, in less than a minute, get the answer? Yes. So now there are some problems where you really do need to read the whole thing. And some of the problems on the test, the end of course test, in my opinion, they're not really math problems. They're really more reading comprehension questions, but that's the way it is. So you got to deal with it. And that's definitely one of those where you can do that. All right, look at this one. Number 8. I'm not going to, again, we're not going to do all the problems, but number 8, scatter plots. Do you remember scatter plots from way back when? Yes. All right. So on this one's so long, it takes a whole bunch. This is a compute. Remember, this is going to be on the computer. So you're going to have to put a dot on whichever one you think is the answer. So notice it says, mark the box showing which scatter plot most closely matches the linear correlation coefficient. So they got a -0.9, a 0, and a 0.9. So remember, those are the correlations. Which one's that one? 0.9. So if this was a computer scatter plot A, you'd click on that one, right? And then what do you think that one is? -0.9. And this one's kind of cut up here, but yeah, that one's the 0. So if this was, now again, this was a problem that took so much, it took like 2 full pieces of paper just for me to print it out. But did you answer it relatively quickly?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, Drew, you okay? All right. So make sure you know how to do that. Look at number 10. Don't say it out loud. Don't say what the answer is out loud. Just read it. Just read it. Don't say anything out loud. Just read it. It says, which equation has roots plus or minus 3? In your head, because you can't use a calculator on this part for real. Now, tomorrow, I guess you could, but see if you can figure out which one of those answers is the right answer. By the way, what's a root? That's the hardest part of this one. What's a root? Anybody know?
Is this the answer?
It's the zero. Zero means the same as root. So I'm glad we talked about this. A root means zero. You know what zero means. That just means x-intercept. We just did a problem like that, right? This word means the same thing. Root means zero. So all you got to do is plug in +3 and -3 and see which one of them gives you the answer that they're looking for. So let's try it. What is 3 minus 3? What's 0 squared? Are we onto something? I think we are. Let's try -3. What's -3 minus 3? -6. Is -6 squared equal to 0? No, so that's not a good answer. So we'll try another one. What is 3 plus 3? Is 6 squared equal to 0? No, that's no good. What about this one? What's 3 minus 0? 3. What's 3 squared? Is it equal to 3? No, it's not. Now, by process of elimination, do we now already know that D is the answer? So if I was taking the test, I'd just mark D and go on because I know it's got to be right. But just to make sure we really know what we're doing, what is 3 plus 0? 3 squared? Is it the same as 3 squared?
Yes.
It is. What's -3 plus 0?
-3.
Is -3 squared equal to +3 squared?
Yes.
It is, because when you square a negative, what are you really
You're multiplying it by a step.
Yeah, so you got a negative times a negative equals a positive. So that's why D is the answer. But again, if you really were pressed for time, you'd have said, well, these three are wrong, so that one's got to be right. Look at number 11. The graph on the coordinate plane shows this. What do those symbols mean?
So it's a V shape.
Absolute value. So it's a V shape. So on the computer, when you scroll down, it's going to say this is the graph. Now, what are they asking for? Which graph shows the graph of this? Now, even though it's been a long time since we've done absolute value, you guys just got done doing this exact same thing. Mr. Vickers showed you this, I think, yesterday or the day before with parabolas, right? What does the -3 mean?
Left, up, down.
Down 3. What does the +1 mean?
Left 1.
So you have to figure out from this graph, we need to go left 1 and down 3. Is it that one?
No.
Nope. Is it that one?
No.
Nope. Is it that one?
No.
No.
Nope. And you got to scroll down. This is a computer, so you're scrolling. Is
Yeah.
it that one?
Yes.
Left 1, down 3. Yep, we just found it. It was letter D. That's the right answer. So again, these are test taking strategies. Something that can separate you from other people taking this test is things like this, test taking. You know how some people are good at taking tests and some people, even though they know the material, sometimes don't do well on tests. This is the thing that separates people like that. You got to know what's going on. All right, now we're getting to the part of the test where you get to use a calculator. So fire up your calculator. By the way, I asked you to take out a piece of paper. How much have you written down on a piece of paper so far?
Absolutely.
Some of you have written down some things because you're really good note takers, but others of you, have we really done anything where you had to write down much of anything? Not really. And remember, if I wrote this test, I probably would put a whole bunch of problems in here where you'd have to write some things down, but I didn't write this test. The state of Tennessee did. And so they want you to be able to do a lot of these problems without having to do a whole lot of work on the paper. There are some times where it will be beneficial to write some things down, but a lot of times you don't have to. Look at number 12. This is another example of a problem that you can do very quickly if you can read the directions and figure out what they're asking you to do. The coordinate plane shows the graph of the functions. Now this looks very complicated. You got a parabola and a line, but it says, what are the solutions to this system of equations?
So they intersect.
Where it says select all that apply, does that mean there's going to be one answer or multiple answers? You have to get into the mind of the person that wrote this test. If they take the time to make a problem where it says select all that apply, are they going to give you just one answer? No, they could, but are they probably going to do it that way? Probably not. So there probably is more than one answer. When it says solutions, what are they really asking you for?
2.
Where they what?
Intersect.
Intersect. Where do they cross? Where do they cross? They cross there.
-2, 3.
-2, -3. So B is an answer. And 1, 0. There's the answer. Why did the test taker put 0, 1 as one of the choices?
Okay.
To trick you. Yeah, they wanted to see if you know the difference between an X and a Y. Exactly. But again, that one took almost no time at all because you knew what you were doing. I don't. It's probably going to be similar in length to this. It's probably very similar in length, but I don't know exactly. All right, this one, the reason why we're going to go over this one is because we just talked about this the other day, right? A dot plot. Have I ever taught you about dot plots? No, not officially, not out of the textbook, but it's in there somewhere. Why didn't we study dot plots? They're super easy. What dirty trick did the test maker play on you here? What about those lots of numbers? They're out of order. Wouldn't it have been nice if they'd have just put them in order? Because then I could, by the way, how many ones should there be? How many twos? How many threes? Wouldn't it have been nice if they'd have put them in order? They didn't. So you have to go hunting through and you tell me what do you think the best answer is? Because we need 1 1, we need 2 2s, 3 3s, 2 4s, 1 5, and 3 6s. Which of these sets of data have that? B. All right, B has 1 2 3
Wait, no,
4, has 4 3s. B is not right. C, let's try C. C has let's see, 1 2 1s, and we need 1 1. C's not right. It's D. Let's see. D has 1 2 3 4 6s, and we want 3. At some point, you guys are going to get it right just by, right? What is it? It's A. Yeah. So don't just guess. Actually figure it out. A has, let's see, does it have 1 1? Sure enough, there it is. Does it have 2 2s? 1 2. Does it have 3 3s? 1 2 3. 2 4s. Let's see. 1. Where's the other 4? Oh, over there. 2. A 5. Does it have a 5? Sure enough, there it is. And does it have 3 6s? 1 2 3. Yep, A is the right answer. Now, it was kind of mean of the test writer to write it in such a way that made you do it that way, because that really doesn't add anything to the problem. But that's what they did, so that's what you have to deal with. So, all right, what about these problems? No, let's not do any of those. All right, number 19. Does number 19 look like one that you might skip and save to the end? Yeah, it's got a lot of reading. Are there any numbers in 19?
No.
No, it's not a math problem. This is a reading comprehension problem, but it's on the math test. But the reason why it's really on the math test is it does deal with logic, and logic is mathematical. So even though there's no numbers, this is kind of a math problem. But I think as long as you understand what's going on, this, even though there's a lot of words, is a problem you can solve relatively quickly. It says, which of the following claims are most likely true based on the data? Select the best 2 answers, and then it says confusing. No, oh, it says pick up to 6 answers, but then it says select the best 2. Is that confusing?
Yeah.
What should you do? Select 6 or 2? 2, great. I don't know why it says pick up to 6 and then choose your, yeah, they did it to confuse you. So let's figure this out. The number of fallen tree limbs is strongly correlated to wind speed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, last night it was windy. Did you have some branches down in your yard? Probably. All right, so the number of car accidents is weakly correlated to wind speed. Do people get in car accidents more when it's super windy? Yeah, a little bit more, but not a whole lot more, right? So that's why it says weakly correlated. The number of fallen tree limbs is moderately correlated to rainfall. Do tree limbs fall down when it rains really hard? They do, right? Sometimes moderately. The number of car accidents is strongly correlated to rainfall. Do people get in car accidents when it's raining?
Yes.
Yes, a lot more.
Especially when it first starts.
Especially when it first starts raining. So it says pick, now all you got to do is read through these and see which one is most logical. An increase in the number of falling tree limbs causes an increase in wind speed. No, tree limbs don't make it blow any harder. An increase in the number of car accidents causes rainfall. No, it's the other way around. High wind speed cannot cause a car accident.
No.
No, it can. It's rare, but it can happen, right? Especially if you're driving a big 18-wheeler or something like that. High wind speed causes an increase in the number of fallen tree limbs. I think that might be one of our 2, right? Let's keep reading. An increase in the rainfall causes an increase in the number of fallen tree limbs. Can really hard rain cause tree limbs to fall down? Yeah, kinda. An increase in rainfall causes an increase in car accidents. Definitely. So even though E is kind of true, I think you're right. I think D and F are the best 2. So did that take us a full minute, maybe minute and a half? Yeah, but that's why you want to save a little bit of time on some of the other questions. All right, so let's find another one here. Look at number 22. Why am I having you do 22? We did it yesterday. Do you have a piece of paper in front of you? Do it. We just did this yesterday. Now, on the actual test, you can write on the test. Tomorrow, when you take the practice test, you can't because it's going to be on the computer. I guess you won't be able to write on the real test because that'll be on the computer as well. But will you have scratch paper in front of you? Are you now finally getting to use your scratch paper? Yeah, so let's see, negative 4x plus 3 minus negative 2x plus 5.
That negative 2x becomes positive. And that 5
So let's see, what should we do with this negative?
Make it a plus.
Plus, and then do what with all the signs? Change them. That becomes plus, that becomes minus. So now you get negative 4x and positive 2x.
Which comes out to negative 2x.
And positive 3 and negative 5.
Which comes out to negative 2.
And we just found the answer. Right? So there it is. We finally got to do some work on paper. This is a math test after all. Yay, a real math question. Not a difficult math question, not one that took you very long, but you maybe could write down something on paper. So there you go. You actually did some work. That's fantastic. All right, let's try this one. Read that one and see if it rings any bells for you. Did we do this?
Yes.
We did this, except instead of using a penny, we used a what? We used a tennis ball. We went outside and did this exact same thing. Now it says, again, even if you didn't want to read all this, read the last sentence. Approximately how many seconds does it take the penny to hit the ground? Here's what they're actually testing you on this. They know you can type it into your calculator and get the answer, and that's what we're about to do. The hard part of this problem is they're testing whether or not you know how high the penny is when it hits the ground. How high is the penny when it hits the ground? 0. That's the hard part of the problem. Now take out your calculator, because this is the calculator part of the test. And do what? Type them in, right? We're going to type in 0.03 for what letter? T. So on your calculator, type in negative 16 times 0.03 squared plus 0.03 plus 10. If I get 0, then does that mean that's the answer? Yes.
It's definitely not going to come out 0.
It's not 0. A is not right. So what do? Give up? No, never give up. Try the next one. Negative 16 times 0.76 squared plus 0.76 plus 10. Is that 0?
No, but
It's closer. Definitely, it's almost hitting the ground, right? Let's try the next one. Negative 16 times 0.82 squared plus 0.82 plus 10. What do you think? I think we just found our answer. Now, it says approximately. So are we going to ever get exactly 0? Probably not. By the way, common sense wise, why am I not even going to plug in 1.32? If it after 0.82 seconds is this close to the ground, is it going to take another whatever half a second to hit the ground? Not even close, right? So I don't even have to plug in D. I already know the answer C, because that's the one where it hits the ground. Again, this is not really a math question either, because I could train a 6th grader to type things into a calculator. This is whether or not you understand that the height of the penny is 0 when it hits the ground, which sounds really easy, but that's really what they're testing you on here. Okay, what else? This one? No. Ooh, there we go. Something I've never taught you, but it will be on the test. Take a look at that. Why have I never taught you this? Because it's super easy, right? This is on the test tomorrow. It looks difficult, but it's not difficult. A histogram is just a fancy dot plot. Remember the dot plot problem that you had earlier? A histogram is the same thing, but instead of dots, it just has these little bars. Sometimes they call them a bar graph, right? So it says which data set could be represented by the histogram. Well, tell me why. Well, let me ask you this. How many numbers from 0 to 9 should we have in our data set? None. Tell me why B is not a good answer. It's got a whole bunch of numbers from 0 to 9 in it, so it's definitely not B. Now, just look at it. This time they were nice enough to put them in order. What do you think the answer is?
C.
Let's see. C has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers from 20 to 29. Oh, wait, did I count that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers. Is that how many we were supposed to get? Yes, it is. This one has 1, 2, 3. That's it. Is C right? Do I even have to figure out any other? No, I don't even have to figure anything else out. That's it.
Plus the 100 at the end of D, so.
Let's see. There must be something else in here. Ooh, here's a good one. Here's one that you should be able to do pretty quickly. A small business has 10 employees, blah, 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 blah. Don't care. Which equation best models the data? All right, remember doing this first semester sometime? We took a line and we drew the line. You tell me when to stop. What do you think? Where is it about? Right about right there? All right. What's the slope of that line that I just did? Is it 1 or is it a half? It looks like up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. Explain to me why A and B can't be the right answer. Those have 1/4 and 1/2 as slopes, and we just said it's up 1 over 1. So the only question is, does our line cross the y-axis at 13 or 14? What do you think? If I was going to draw a line on here, do you think it would cross at 13 or 14? A really nice line. What do you think?
13.
I think 14. 13 is way in the bottom of the data, right? 14 is kind of in the middle of the data. So the answer is D. The answer is D. So again, that's one where they're just testing to see, do you know what a regression line looks like? And you do, because we. Let's see, anything else you need to know? Ooh, here's a good one. This one has a graph that looks really scary. We've never, ever graphed anything like that, because that's a parabola, but what do you notice about it? Sideways. We've never graphed a sideways parabola, so it's not fair that they put one like this on the test, or is it?
Yes.
It is, because look at the question that they asked you. It says, is F a function?
No.
No. Now, you might say, well, that was quick and easy. That was a 5-second question. I'm all done. The trouble is, there's 2 different no's. Is it C or D?
D, because D makes 0 sense.
All right. Well, if it was a Mr. File test, you would have said no, and you would have said because it fails the what test? The vertical line test. So that is the right answer, but they didn't say anything about vertical line. So you got to figure out which one sounds more like it failed the vertical line test,
D.
because the function has negative values, or because each input does not correspond to only one output.
D.
D. Yep, it's D. So even though you're thinking that should say because of the vertical line test, it does. They just actually told you what the vertical line test does. That's it.
A and B have the same reasoning.
Yep. All right. So again, I didn't go through all the problems with you because I'm not going to do that. But tomorrow, when you're doing this test, you should do the best that you can. Okay. And we'll use that to kind of help us out. Now, you all have a piece of paper out in front of you right now. If you do well on what Mr. Vickers is going to show you for the next 15 minutes, you're not going to get an assignment. Is that a good deal?
Yes, it is.
No assignment if you do everything Mr. Vickers asks you to do right now. You're going to learn a little something new today.
All right, what did we do yesterday?
We did polynomials.
Polynomials, what did we do with those polynomials?
Monopolynomials, trinomials.
We did deal with monomials, binomials, and trinomials. We combined them. We added and subtracted polynomials, right? So today, we're going to build off of that. And instead of adding and subtracting, we're going to multiply. So I have a monomial x times a binomial x plus 2. Now, if you know your 3rd grade math, what's the rule that I'm going to have to do here? Distribute. So I have x times x. What is that?
X squared.
X squared. And then I have x times 2,
2x.
2x. So x squared plus 2x. Okay. Let's do another one. 3x squared times x minus 4. What am I going to have to do? Distribute. So what is 3x squared times x? 3x cubed. And what is 3x squared times a negative 4? Negative 12x squared. So I have 3x cubed minus 12x squared. Any questions over these? A monomial times a binomial. Okay. Let's do a binomial times a binomial. 3x plus 2 times x minus 4. There are a couple different methods to do this. I like the FOIL method, which means F stands for first. So you multiply the first ones, 3x and x. And what is 3x times x?
3x squared.
3x squared. And then we have O. O is outer. So 3x times a negative 4. So we have, what is 3x times a negative 4?
Negative 12x.
Negative 12x. And then we have inner, which means our inner 2 multiply together,
2x.
which is 2x. So we have plus 2x. And then L stands for last. So then I have 2 times a negative 4,
Negative 8.
which is negative 8. Am I done?
No, you have to combine like terms.
You have to combine like terms. So what are my like terms here?
X.
Negative 12x and 2x. So I have 3x squared minus 10x minus 8.
Hold on, wait a minute, wait.
What? What now?
That is not the correct method. I want you to disregard everything that Mr. Vickers just taught you. This is incorrect. It is not the FOIL method. This is wrong. You need to understand this. The correct method is called the file method. Okay, you all need to know this. In FOIL, the inferior method, F stands for first. In the file method, the superior method, F stands for first. In the FOIL method, O stands for outer. In file method, it stands for exterior. So when you take the 3x times negative 4, you get negative 12x, but exterior is superior to outer. Interior, the same, last, the same, but you should always use the file method instead of the FOIL method is far superior. All right, you can keep going. They're actually the same. Use whichever one you want. I
What
like
y'all
file
didn't
method
know?
better.
He created this method and they ripped him off and made it FOIL method.
Or it could have been the other way around.
Or it could have been the other way around. I don't know. Okay. Now, there is actually another method called the box method. Now, you remember Punnett squares from science class?
Yes.
We're basically doing Punnett squares. So you have a 3x and a 2. That's the first one. Then we have an x minus 4. So I'm going to draw a box first. And then I'm going to put x and a negative 4. Okay. Then I'm going to divide them up. Now, if you know anything about Punnett squares, how do I find what goes in this box? The things on the outside. So I have x and 3x. So what's x times 3x? 3x squared. How do I find this box? What times what? 3x times negative 4, which is negative 12x. And then I have this box. What's in this box? 2x. In this box, negative 8. So then, do I have any other x squared terms? No, so I write it out, 3x squared. And then I have a negative 12x and a 2x, which make negative 10x. The good thing about the box method, all your like terms are on the diagonal. And then you have a negative 8, so you have minus 8. You get the same answer, but it's just a different method.
Does that work for trinomials?
Does work for trinomials. You just gotta put more boxes. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to do this one. Whichever method you want to do, either the box or the FOIL/file method, either one you want to
You
use
can't see it.
for this problem. Try it out, see what you get. Now, when we taught this in Algebra 2, some students use the FOIL method, some use the box method. But we didn't really teach it, we kind of went over it, because they learned it in Algebra 1 last year. Some of them like the FOIL/file method because it's faster. Some like the box method because it's easier. So whichever one works for you, use that method. All right, I'll give you just a minute to finish up here. And then we'll go over it. All right, so for the FOIL/file method, what do I multiply first?
The x's.
X's, so I get
X squared.
x squared. And then what do I
Minus
multiply?
9x plus 2x minus 18.
So why do I do the minus 9x? Outer or exterior. So I get minus 9x. And then what is I? Interior, which is 2x. And then last, negative 18. So am I done?
No.
No. Combine like terms and I get x squared minus 7x minus 18. So now let's do the box method. What's x times x? X times negative 9. Negative 9x, x times 2. And then 2 times the negative 9. X squared. Diagonals like terms, negative 7x minus 18. Do we get the same answer? Yes. Are both methods just as good as each other? They are. So whichever one you want to use it. Mr. File's a little biased on that. All right, let's do
Alright, it's faster.
one more problem and then we'll be done. Do it whichever way you want. Use whichever method you want to use. Take just a minute and then we'll go over it. All right, because of time constraints, raise your hand if you were doing the box method.
Shame.
Raise your hand for FOIL method. Raise your hand for file method.
There we go.
All right, we're gonna do the box method because that's what most of you voted for. So box method, so X minus 5 and X plus 5. So X and X make X squared. X times 5, 5X. X times a negative 5.
Negative 5x.
And 5 times a negative
Negative
5, negative 25. So I have no X squared times except the 1. Now, what is 5X minus 5X?
0.
0. So do I write anything down? Nope. And then we have a minus 25. And we're done. 30-second